Do you ever feel more tired than you should be, like you're just low on energy and can't concentrate for seemingly no reason, and you're thinking, is it normal to require this much coffee just to muster the energy to function? But what is energy when you're talking about the body? Here's a pop quiz. What do breathing, food, cyanide, and Star Wars all have in common? Midichlorians, the microscopic life forms living in the cells of living things that determine your propensity to use the Force. Actually, no, but midichlorians are obviously based off of mitochondria. Mitochondria are found in nearly all cells in the human body. They are the powerhouse of the cell and the reason you breathe and eat food. Mitochondria use food calories and oxygen to create energy in the form of a compound called ATP. We are incredibly reliant on our mitochondria to smoothly and efficiently produce massive amounts of energy. We need so much energy that if you took all the molecules of ATP you made in a day and put it on the scale, it would weigh as much as you. We make our body weight in ATP every day. If you messed up this energy supply, things would go haywire rapidly. This is how cyanide kills people so quickly. It damages the mitochondria's ability to make energy. Unsurprisingly, some instances of feelings of excessively low energy or fatigue have been linked to poor mitochondria function. Evolutionary biologist Dr. Douglas C. Wallace is arguing here that medicine focuses too much on anatomy and not enough on animation. That is, the energy production necessary to animate the anatomy. Scientists are starting to see that mitochondrial dysfunction may play a central role in the development of many diseases, including heart disease and Alzheimer's. That's not all that surprising because the heart and brain require massive amounts of energy to work properly. It's also well known that the mitochondria are dysfunctional in obesity and diabetes. In fact, the world's most prescribed diabetes drug, metformin, which is one of the few that also helps patients lose weight, acts on the mitochondria. Okay, but where does vegetable oil come into play in all of this? Well, surprise, surprise, vegetable oils can damage the mitochondria. To make this real simple, you can think of the mitochondria's energy production as a conveyor belt at a factory that's pumping out ATP energy. After your body pulls electrons from the food you eat, complexes and electron transporters pass electrons down this conveyor belt, the inner membrane of the mitochondria. This results in protons being pumped up here, and then the protons get sucked into this ATP synthesis enzyme to make ATP. Now, the conveyor belt, the inner membrane, has plenty of something called cardiolipin. This is important because this is what's damaged when you consume plenty of vegetable oils. When the linoleic acid from vegetable oils accumulates in your body, you can get what's called a peroxidation cascade, where kind of like dominoes, one molecule of linoleic acid oxidizes and produces a substance that can oxidize another molecule of linoleic acid, and that produces more of that substance that can go on and damage another molecule of linoleic acid, and so on and so on. It's a chain reaction. This chain reaction can go on to affect the cardiolipin in your mitochondria. As this study shows here, when rats eat a linoleic acid-rich vegetable oil diet, markers of oxidized fat doubled. And in the heart, the content of cardiolipin, the stuff your mitochondria needs to properly produce energy, was reduced 5-fold. In this study, the cardiolipin of diabetic and non-diabetic rats reduced drastically when they were fed a vegetable oil diet, and the mitochondria of the vegetable oil-fed diabetic rats completely collapsed into these crumpled blobs. Even the textbook Recent Advances in Mitochondrial Medicine acknowledges that omega-6 fatty acids, like those found in vegetable oil, may damage various organs including the pancreas, which would worsen metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. So, going back to the first study, what happened to the normal rats whose mitochondrial cardiolipin was reduced so much from eating vegetable oils? In just 4 weeks, these rats had heart failure. Developing heart failure that fast is very alarming, but of course humans are not rats, so it's not like eating a bunch of mayonnaise will give you heart failure in a couple weeks. It's going to take a very long time of consuming plenty of vegetable oil for damage to become apparent. But how long? Well, let me mention one last study. The 1969 LA Veterans Administration Hospital study, another very well-controlled clinical diet trial where people over 60 were given either animal fats or vegetable oils. To cut to the chase, the people in the vegetable oil group were dying more. And this was the case even though there were twice as many heavy smokers in the animal fat group. The interesting part is that this study was so long, 8 years, and it took many years to clearly see the negative effect of the vegetable oil diet. The study authors concluded that to truly understand the negative health effect of vegetable oils, maybe studies need to be much longer than 8 years, but most only last 5 years at best. So to sum all this up, vegetable oils, which are rich in the polyunsaturated omega-6 fat linoleic acid, displace saturated fats, which we had been eating for thousands of years. The consumption of these new oils happen to correlate with rates of obesity, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. Correlations are just correlations, but it's well known that polyunsaturated fats oxidize very easily, creating oxidation products which are toxic to humans. Not only that, but linoleic acid accumulates in the body where it can oxidize, creating these harmful oxidation products and damaging our mitochondria. And lastly, well-controlled clinical trials have found worse outcomes for people on a vegetable oil diet. So, something I've been thinking about is, if this is such a big deal, why isn't it a bigger topic? Why aren't more people interested in vegetable oils the way people are interested in the health effects of, say, sugar? Well, I think the difference is sugar tastes and makes us feel great. If you took it out of your food, you'd definitely notice. So I think some people intuitively think, this has got to be too good to be true. Maybe sugar is bad for me. But with vegetable oils, they're a lot like the sawdust in William Osman's Rice Krispie treats. They're just there, hard to notice, hiding in your food. I mean, how often do you think about the fat used to make your food? If someone swapped the sugar in your coffee with stevia or Splenda, you'd notice pretty quickly. But could you even tell if the aromatic vegetables you ordered at a restaurant were sauteed in canola oil instead of butter?